Sweeney. Dwayne Sweeney. Sweeney's over.
Can you please hand it over to your captain, Dwayne Sweeney?
Welcome to Real Tales with Sweens. This episode I catch up with my good mate Brad Webber. Brad is a professional rugby player that has played provincial rugby for Otago, Waikato and Hawke's Bay. During his time with Waikato he was also the captain that led the side to Ranfurly Shield victory against Hawke's Bay, his hometown side in which he had signed to join the following season. He has also played 85 games for the Chiefs in Super Rugby, was a member of the All Black Rugby World Cup squad for 2019 and is in the current squad for 2020 which is preparing for the up-and-coming Rugby Championship. We caught up in my new Hamilton-based studio at Brown Lightning Brothers over a couple of good George Raglan Roast IPAs. Brad shared some great insight from his personal journey through his rugby career to date. From the disappointment of missing out on the Otago squad, to taking his opportunity 2 weeks later with Waikato, which helped him gain a Super Rugby contract with the Chiefs. He also opens up about being told he was too small to be pro and the strength of trusting your own ability to achieve success. We also discuss the Black Clash and his experience of being a part of the awesome event, his horrific injury he suffered at the Brisbane Tens, his love of club rugby, the NBA, and so much more. As always, the show notes will be available on Instagram at Real Tales with Sweens and the website realtaleswithsweens.com. The website will also have all the links to listen on your favourite platform, as well as some great content on all the guests. Lastly, a special thanks to Brad for taking the time to share his tale with us. Enjoy the podcast. Cool, so I'm sitting here with Brad Webber, All Black number 1140. G'day, Brad.
Sweens, cheers for having me on, mate.
It's awesome to have you here. And also known as Morrinsville Sports' third best halfback.
Only according to one person.
Yeah.
Probably, I'd have to give number one to Harry.
Yeah.
I can't take that off him, but I reckon I'll sit comfortably at number two.
Oh, yeah, easily at number two. Damon McKinnon might even be getting pushed out of third, I reckon. Yeah, well, just to start with, I guess we'll jump right into Morrinsville Sports because we got to play together for the mighty Blue and Reds for Morrinsville. And I want to talk about our game versus varsity. It was the first time that we... Might have been the first time we played together.
Yeah,
Had we played together for the Chiefs?
No, I don't think so. Because I played I think I might have played the week before for Morrinsville against Marist, and we lost. And then you must have got released back to play for Morrinsville along with me. That
Yeah, because it was in that test window in June. I'm pretty sure back then.
Yeah,
2014.
Yeah, and varsity were red hot. That I don't think they might have been undefeated at that stage, and we were just battlers. Yeah. That was my first experience with a country club. I'd only ever been at Napier Boys, Marist, and Dunedin Sharks, two sort of city clubs. It opened my eyes going to a country club like that, but geez, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I don't know about the initiation though. I reckon I got stitched up.
Put the sock.
Yeah, again, after the Marist, put the beer in the sock that's been played in and have to drink, but you have to suck it out.
Yeah.
It was crock, but
yeah.
I had
someone else's sock.
I had to drink it out of someone else's sock, and then I'm pretty sure you were telling me that it was meant to be out of your own sock, which is bearable.
Yeah.
But having to drink out of someone else's sweaty toes is not flash.
Nah.
So they obviously picked on the new city boy and
Well, I don't know where that changed. Because when I started, it was your own sock. You just
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Putting it in someone else's is just a crock.
Yeah. I don't know where that changed along the way. But so anyway, Marist Uni were red hot when they turned up at Campbell Park, and I think I remember having a conversation with you, and because I knew that you had played a couple of games prior, and I think I asked the question along the lines of do the boys just play unreal when you show up, because they generally do lift, especially if someone of your caliber, you're involved with the Chiefs and Super Rugby at the time. And what I'd noticed with Harry, with Brendan Leonard, when we used to go back, we would win games that we shouldn't, but it wasn't necessarily because we played.
It
was because the rest of the boys would just play so well. It was like they got a real lift from us being there.
Yeah.
And it definitely proved the case in point that day,
Well, varsity had Roger Randall was their coach at the time. They had their full pack was stacked with Waikato players, but like I said, I remember Simisi Masi there would probably had the game of his life there. That's probably the best game I've seen him play was that one. And there was that one play, where I popped out of a ruck, fed you beat a couple, fed it back to me, and then I hit Samisi and he ran it under the post, and we were just so pumped. I think that put us up by quite a bit at that stage, and it was one of the most enjoyable club games I've been a part of. What you screaming? That's Morrinsville footy.
I think I gave it the big fuck yeah. That's Morrinsville footy in your ear. I've written down in my notes here just my memories from that day. Like it was like at this point where when you picked the ball up, I was almost like I was on the same wavelength with you. I could just see things unfolding, see space that you could see, and I was like, Webby's going to go here. And I was like sometimes anticipating from like centre, and I was running through the defensive line as you're picking the ball up, just knowing that you're going to break. And it was just like one of those days where everything clicked. Like it was just so enjoyable.
I think on that play especially, like I think you were telling me to hit the hole, but I could see that it was probably more on for you, and so you just hit that hole so nicely, put it in, and it just everything happened. It was geez, it felt good in the club rooms afterwards. All those varsity boys coming in with the towel between their legs, especially Rog. I loved giving it to Rog.
He's still there's a video floating around with it. I think I sent it to you on WhatsApp. Because one of the uni boys, Lewis Rogers, who's playing for Waikato now, he was playing flanker that day. Him and Stevie Lowe had a good dust up, actually. Right. But
how many dust ups does Stevie Lowe have? Played 5 games for Morrinsville. I'm pretty sure he had scrape every game.
He's very passionate, Stevie. He doesn't take a backward step. But and I remember Louis sent he was doing a little bit of I guess like research, and he was watching some old games, and he was just fired me through a few questions about some things I did in that game, because he's playing second five now. And then he was like, what were you thinking here? What are you thinking here? And then he just sends through that clip of that try, and he's like, for fuck's sake. And I was like, it was just so awesome, like to see, I don't know, like, because for me, I was just so passionate, always have been very lucky and fortunate throughout my career. I've been able to play for 3 teams that I've loved. Didn't have to move for opportunity, and that's something that we're going to get to with you. Like, you had to move to get those opportunities, but now, of course, you've put yourself in a position to be able to go back home and play for Hawke's Bay, which is must be nice. But for me, I was very lucky and fortunate that I got to stay in the one basically hub my whole professional career, apart from my stint offshore. And Morrinsville's always been home, and it's always been very passionate. But to see someone come in like you and share that same passion, that meant a lot to me personally, and it was pretty cool to see how much you enjoyed that occasion.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It seems like you could tell the passion that all those Morrinsville boys had for the club. So it was pretty easy for me to fit in, and it wasn't a hard transition for sure. Like, I love club rugby, like especially at clubs like that where it's the people really that make clubs like that, and so it was an easy transition. Yeah,
it's like good for the soul, club rugby. You're there for the purest reason, for just enjoying it, playing it.
Especially guys like that was my first year of fully professional footy, to be back and playing with guys who are off the farm, and guys who just come off the tools and train on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's pretty, keeps you grounded, I reckon. As a professional. So I wish we could do more for club rugby as professional footy players. Like, it'd be awesome if there was a round in Super Rugby where there's no Super Rugby and all the players go and play club rugby for a week. I reckon that would be quite cool, but because I just feel like we're not doing enough at the moment.
Yeah, that would be awesome, like a concept like that. Like I spoke about it. I did a podcast with Teresa, the physio for you boys for the Chiefs, and we spoke about it in there. And it's like, how awesome would it be to create like a hype around club rugby? It would, because I know if I was a young fella and had my time again, I was obviously heavily invested in rugby, and I was going to play no matter what. But for those guys that kind of sit on the fence, like, not really going to go pro, but I'm a very good club player, and it's like, what is there to sort of strive for? But if you say, you're going to get the opportunity to play with Brad Webber, if you're good enough to be in the Prem starting lineup when he gets released from Super Rugby, or Bowden Barrett, or the list goes on. Those guys will come back for one round, one weekend. Like, I would be frothing. I'd be so keen as a young fella to have that opportunity. And who knows what it unearths afterwards, because that one little interaction or, you know, that one moment of connection with somebody like that could drive a whole nother generation of players.
Well, it's funny you say that, because that's essentially what happened to me in Dunedin when I was. We had a few Super Rugby players that would get released back, but Trent Renato got released to play for us quite a few times, and so I obviously got to know Trent really well, and he's a hell of a personality. And I actually owe almost my whole professional career to Trent, because through meeting him and playing a lot of games with him, we really played together well. And when he left and went back to Waikato and found out that I didn't make the Otago squad, it was him putting in a lot of it was him putting a good word into Johnny Walters, the Waikato coach at the time, to get me up and give me a crack. So it's funny there.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's just like it's so often talking through this podcast and talking to different people in all walks of life, like business, you know, sport, whatever it may be. It's like opportunity at the right time, and if you take it and you got to work once you get the opportunity. But it always just sometimes it's just one person's perception at the right time.
Yeah, exactly.
Of you, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, Trent clearly, like, if Trent didn't say anything, Johnny Walters probably didn't know who you were.
Yeah,
you know, it's that simple.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just the fact that you got on well with him, you performed with him, so he's like, I want to play with him more.
Yeah.
He puts in a good word, and then the rest is history.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So you spoke about it there. You spoke about Otago and being down there and playing with the Sharks.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Hawke's Bay. You went to university in Dunedin.
Yep.
What did you study?
So I actually I changed.
And will you use it?
So because I wasn't a schoolboy superstar or anything. Like, I didn't make New Zealand schools or anything like that. Me and we had a good year in my last year at Napier Men's, but me and my best mate Gareth Evans, who plays for the Hurricanes now, we were like, Dunedin looks epic. It's a party place. So like, let's enroll there. And so we followed each other down, and I started off studying commerce, hated it, so I changed to first year health science the next year, and I don't know what I was gonna whatever, how good my grades were going to whatever it was. So like, I don't think I was smart enough to be a doctor, but you know, something maybe under that and the health stuff. But I ended up making under 20s that year, so I ended up just staying through with a science degree, and I was going into my last year when I got brought up to Waikato. So I think I've got like 6 papers left.
Oh yeah.
And so to answer your question, I won't use it because I probably won't get it, just because like the papers I've got left are like 300 levels, so they're real specific, and I've just forgotten everything. So like, I don't think I could go back and do it. But it would be nice to have the piece of paper to acknowledge my 4 years down there. But I probably won't get my degree. But shit, it was the best 4 years of my life. Like, I was very fortunate. Me and Gareth both actually, like, we got to live sort of both lives. Like, see guys like Damien, or like even you, like you made sort of Waikato straight out of school. Like, I got to be a student and be normal, and you know, get on the bus 2 or 3 times a week, and and play club rugby on Saturday, and that was my fun. Yeah. And then got lucky enough to start playing well enough to become a professional in the end. So I was very lucky. I got to sort of live 2 lives, and man, 4 years in Dunners, it changes you. But it was good times. Like, I was in a hall in first year in university college, and there's 500 first year students in there, so you can always find someone to have a beer with or do something. And so made a lot of mates who live all around the country now, so very fortunate in my student days.
Yeah, it seems to be a very loyal group down there too. Like university in Dunedin, I got a few mates that I went through school with, and they go down there and they always catch up together. It's like it's awesome to see. It's quite refreshing. I suppose rugby circles, it's kind of, becomes a little bit difficult because everybody goes off for different opportunities, and some people only have a short career, some have a long career. So you end up, you know, like for me, I've basically been involved in professional rugby for nearly 20 years, and the vast array of people that you interact with is crazy. Like some of the, like Quinn, for example, like me and Quinn were playing in the midfield together the last couple of years. Quinn was 2 when I debuted for Waikato. It's fucking crazy to think. But it sometimes is hard to stay in touch because rugby is a very fast moving world. Like you're on to the next tournament, you're off to the next training camp, then you're back from that, and you've just been training here for the week with the All Blacks in Hamilton. You're in Whakatane last week, you're off to Wellington next week, then you're going to go into isolation for bloody 3 months.
It's crazy, like and that's like I've still got like a big group chat with all my uni mates, like a big group of lads, and call ourselves the Gentlemen's Club, and we have catch ups at AGMs and stuff like that. And actually, a whole lot of them, funnily enough, I think there might have been 13 or 14 of them came over to the World Cup. They started like a fund, an account, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Started putting in every week to be able to save up enough to go to this World Cup, and I was saving up to go on this lads trip, and then I sort of was like, oh, hang on, lads, I'm in the fray out, like I'm actually a chance of being there, so I can potentially get the lads tickets and and come along and that. And sure enough, there was sort of 12 or 13 of them that were over there. Went and caught up with them in a couple of Japanese restaurants, and they actually had they had their own capping ceremony where they had like this gentleman's tour like cap and stuff. And I brought Beaver along because he was there commentating, and he presented the boys with all these gentlemen's club caps. Just fucking epic. So it is like it's a tight knit group, and the thing is down there, like you all sort of have a similar frame of mind. Like you're there to have fun and study on the side, so it's pretty easy to make mates. And we had a hell of a good time. We flatted on Castle Street in second year, which is the notorious street down there for second years, and we had some fun lock-ins, all sorts. Dunedin Sharks as well was my rugby club down there was fucking cool.
That's the old fins up celebration.
That's why I throw a fin up all the time. And
it's not Tasman.
No, it's not. Everyone hits me up about that. Like, why do you throw the Marco fin up? I'm like, it's not the fucking Marco fin. Like, we did this first. It's the Sharks. Like, we own that. So, but we in 1 year we had 5 Colts teams at the Sharks. So like, whoa, it's a lot.
That's impressive, man.
The recruiting at that stage.
There isn't even 5 in the Waikato at the moment. There might be 6. Yeah.
That's how strong our club was. So you imagine every Saturday night, like back at the club rooms, it was like having 5 Colts teams. Like it was heaving every weekend. So shit, it was
what an environment.
Oh, like really become a man down there, man. But like not just the lads that you play with, like the people that run the club were brilliant. Like Chucky and Grunter, they are 2 managers. They'd put on everything for us. They'd come around and pick everybody up in the vans because we're out at St. Clair, which is probably 10k away.
Out by the beach there, eh?
Yeah.
I played there once for Waikato B. We played.
Oh yeah.
Otago B, and I actually marked John Leslie.
No shit.
Yeah, bro. Yeah,
that's a
Otago legend. It was. Oh, I was young buck, maybe like 18 or 19 at the time, I think. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, John Leslie. Because he played
Highlanders
a ton of games for both the Highlanders and Otago. I was a bit nervous. Yeah. He's a good rooster though. He bought me a beer afterwards, and I was
That's the thing about Southern hospitality. That's so typical of a Otago player. Like,
I think I asked for his autograph too.
Crack up. There you go. Yeah. But, always willing to have a beer with you afterwards. That's what I loved about the place. Like, great people.
Like a lot of people say, like good clubs make good people or good teams or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's the people that make the club. So, like Morans was a good example for me personally. Like that club is full of great people, and that's why it's successful in my mind. Like we're not successful in terms of results because we struggle for depth, but the quality of people that come through that place are awesome. Yeah. We always have the club room's always full. We have a good time. We've always got numbers at training. Just sometimes we just lack, I suppose, the talent, but the effort's definitely there.
Well, that's what keeps people coming back as well. Like, that's how you retain players, is by having a good club culture. Man, like that, and that's the thing. Like people would often ask me when I first sort of moved up here, and I'd been here for a few years, like, do you miss Dunners? And I was like, I don't miss the place, but like I miss the people. Like that's what I miss the most, and I still do. Like, still got mates playing there and stuff. But that's a sign of a good club.
Yeah. But a big group of, like, Dunedin is a place where a big group of people come and go though as well. Like, you moved on. Like, there wouldn't have been many of your friends through university that are still there.
Nah, exactly. Like the people that are still playing there, they weren't necessarily students, or like they sort of transitioned out and they they carried on is like guys like Sam Anderson Heather, who's played a bit for the Highlanders.
He's an awesome rooster too. He's a great man.
He was the heart and soul of our club down there. And
no wonder it's a successful place then.
Big reason why we had a lot of success on the field and off the field as well. So it's guys like that carried on playing. Like there was sort of only been even now there might only be one guy that I played with that's still playing there. So there is a lot of turnover being a student town, but it's the guys like that they're the glue.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. We'll jump off rugby now because like you spoke a little bit there about I suppose like the passion of club rugby, but you're a massive you have a big passion for the sport of basketball.
Yeah.
And your team is the Hawks.
Yeah, Atlanta Hawks. We suck at the moment.
Yeah.
But like if I was a foot taller, I would have been a basketball player, I reckon. Like I just love it that much. It's just a shame that I'm a dwarf. So, but like you swings.
Yeah. I'm wider than I am tall.
Yeah. But I think that basketball players are just the greatest athletes in the world. Like you think like a guy like LeBron James is tall, if not taller than Brody Retallick. Yeah, he can run as fast as a winger and he can jump as high and so
agile way.
Agile, can move side to side, and micro skill as well. Like putting a ball in a hoop's not fucking easy.
Nah.
And they just make it look so simple. And I just reckon they're the greatest athletes in the world. So I just have so much admiration for them. But especially the Hawks, and the reason I enjoy them is because of a guy called Spud Webb.
Yeah, well, that's one of your nicknames.
Yeah, exactly. Funny enough, like people start calling me it now. Yeah. But like he was back in the 80s. But I remember watching YouTube clips. He was my height, 5'7". And he won the slam dunk contest. Like he beat Dominique Wilkins, who's one of like the greatest dunkers in the world. Like I think Michael Jordan might have been one of those dunk contests potentially as well. And like you see the video clips, and it's like this little short dude, and then he's jumped on a tramp, and he's just like sprung up and dunked it. So I was like, that's awesome. So I've supported the Hawks ever since. We've got a young core at the moment. Trae Young's pretty good. He's like the next Steph Curry, they reckon, and he's pretty decent, and a few other young fellas. So hopefully in a few years we'll be competing for a championship, but right now we're losing more than we're winning. But like the Chiefs. Oh, I can laugh about it now.
Yeah, you can laugh about it now. Yeah, well, there you spoke about Spud Webb being small, and I understand that for you, like you've been told that you are too small to play professional rugby. So with obviously your respect for Spud Webb, did that stem from that? Or have you always been a fan of him, and then you kind of use that as fuel in your own personal journey as well? Yeah,
I've always seen him as a bit of an idol, like trailblazing away for smaller guys in a big sport, and that certainly at the time when I was being told that halfbacks were sort of more like loose forwards. There was guys like Pity Wepu around, Jimmy Cowan,
Harry.
Yeah, Harry. Like
he's a big halfback, isn't he?
Bigger guys, and at the time the game was slower. You needed someone a bit more physical, so perhaps those coaches may have been right, but I sort of knew that I knew I was good, and I knew I was quick, so I knew I had a bit of a point of difference, and I'm just glad that the game has sort of evolved to what it is now, where you need someone who's fast and fit, and that just suited me perfectly. But certainly, guys,
but you definitely don't lack in the physicality side either. Like you might be little, but you love it.
Yeah, I love tackling. There's no better feeling.
And you're a good defender.
And people sort of look past that. Like I see comments from people saying that I'm a shit defender all the time, and I'm like, well, I mean, just because I'm small doesn't mean like check my tackle stats. Like I'm right up there. So, but it's something
uneducated eye.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But something that I've embraced because I've always been the smallest guy in every team I've ever played for, and so when you're out in the field, like big guys target you, but
those are the easy ones to get though, eh?
Exactly. It's the guys with good footwork that are the hardest to tackle. The guys that try and run straight over you, it's like easy money.
I'll chip you out.
Yeah. So yeah, like certainly guys like Spud were definitely inspirational for me to try and blaze my own trail in rugby, and even like look at guys like Isaiah Thomas, who's played for the Celtics, and he's my height as well, and he was 5th in the MVP voting a few years ago. So there's certainly a lot of guys in a big sport like basketball that certainly inspired me in rugby.
Yeah, and that's a sport that's like built around height.
Yeah, exactly.
If you ask anyone that's tall, they probably get asked if they play basketball.
Hey,
you know?
I'm probably guilty of that too. Because I love it so much. You play basketball?
Yeah, but I think I love that you were able to, I suppose, channel a negative perception or a comment and then go and basically stuff this. This is my point of difference. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to understand too, is like, you don't have to be like everybody else, but you will have something. Each individual has something that, a good quality or a good skill or something like that. And especially if you're an athlete and you want to make it professionally in a sport, like find what that is and use it. I find too many people, as people in human nature, we focus on the negative too much. So it's like a lot of people, and I probably would have been guilty of it when I was younger. Like if I got that feedback from you, or like that you got, I would have just gone straight in the gym and I would have been like Googling how to get taller. Like I just would have. But it's just like, well, no, you had the foresight to go, no, I've got a point of difference. I'm fast, I'm fit. Like, you can clearly work on the other. Yeah. Like you don't need to be big to be a good defender. You don't need to be big to be good on the ball either. No, exactly. Like in a breakdown, like if your technique's good and you're strong in the areas that you need to be and you train the right way, you've got your point of difference. Then all of a sudden you become rounded and where you go. Yeah, but if it's that focusing on what you're good at and applying it,
exactly. Like, and funny you sort of mentioned around the breakdown and stuff. Like, I was talking to Lachlan Boucher recently, like, what sort of flicked his switch this year, like how he's just gone to another level. And he said to me, because when you talk about points of difference, like Gats got up in front of the whole team in January or something and was basically like just saying around selection and how it works. And he basically asked a question to ask yourself, what's your point of difference? Like, what do you do better than everybody else that's going to force me to pick you everywhere? And that was the first time Lachlan sort of sat back and was like, yeah, it's a good point. I'm fucking good over the ball. Yeah. So I'm just going to focus on that even more this year. Yeah. And sure enough, like, he is just a freak. Genuine freak.
How many times the game's on the line and you need a play, he gets it, Like, he turns it over.
Exactly. Forces a penalty. And so that changed his mindset to stop trying to be like
work on all the other stuff.
And all the stuff he's bad at. And he was just like, I'm just going to work on the stuff that I'm world class at and be even better. And it's funny, he reckons he played a game against the Brumbies and Pocock was playing. And obviously, like, Pocock's pretty good over the ball. Yeah. And I think Lockie got over the ball and was like, and won a penalty, but Pocock was trying to clean him out and obviously didn't get him right. And he reckons he said to him, "You're not the only one that can do that."
That's awesome.
I was like, "Fuck, you're a 10 So like, case in point, like, find your point of difference, go fucking hard at that, and you bring success easier.
Yeah, especially because, like, as Kiwis, our human nature is to be negative, and especially on ourselves, like, we're just like, and as like I find in the sport of rugby even more so, we're constantly looking for improvement, sometimes to the detriment of ourselves as people, as well as ourselves as rugby players. Like, you can just get so fixated on something and you miss 10 chances to do what you're good at because you're thinking, like, I need to do this better. And it's like, you just miss 10 chances to have a real influence on the game because you're worried about something so small.
Exactly. It's like New Zealand, we're confident, but we're not outwardly spoken. Like, Adesanya is a classic example. Like, he's gone against the grain, but he's trying to encourage Kiwis to be more like that. Like, know what you're good at and tell the world, basically, say to everybody, this is what I'm good at, rather than just focusing on all the negative shit. So
But even in saying that, like, if he comes out and says, like, he's good at this, good at that, but even if he loses, say, that doesn't matter, like, because he's still good at those things, and he's gonna have a bad day, like we all do, but it's just like we're so worried about, if I say this and then someone's gonna go, oh yeah, but you didn't do it that day, and it's like, well, yeah, that's one day. Like, I know I didn't get that right, but it's that's also the side where we need to actually be a little bit more vulnerable and be okay with failing. Like, my whole career changed when I learned how to fail. Like, I was, I've spoken about it before, but I was a perfectionist, had to get everything right. I'd fixate on things, and then as soon as it was gats as well, pretty much the same, very similar conversation. It was all around point of difference and that sort of thing. But he actually pulled me aside and said, you need to learn how to make a mistake and be okay with it. And I was like, what? And he's like, well, everything you do is perfect, but you don't push yourself enough because you're not willing to actually fail. So it's my whole ethos around the game and what I try to encourage to younger players now. And then when I'm doing some coaching, I don't give two shits if you make a mistake. If you're trying to do something, the worst thing you could do is not try. You're better off just to have a crack.
Exactly. Bit of encouraging failure. At least it means you're pushing yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So you mentioned it a little bit there, like with Trent, and I actually did want to know how you ended up coming up here to the beautiful Waikato, and us eventually crossing paths. But that opportunity came up in 2013, and you played for Otago in 2012.
Yep.
And then you have the disappointment of missing out in 2013, but you get your opportunity to come here. What was your initial thoughts, I suppose, of the region, of your perceptions of the team, of the place, of Hamilton? Because I spoke to Tomo, Adam Thompson, and he was just like, he was real excited to join the Chiefs, dreaded coming to Hamilton. But it's, it gets a bad stigma Hamilton until you actually live here. I don't know, it'd be interesting to hear your points on that coming up, and I guess, coming into the Waikato rugby environment too.
So I remember I got called into Tony Brown's office one time at the gym in Otago, and I was thinking, sweet, he's going to offer me a contract and offer me a place, and he was then he was like, oh look, I'm just letting you know that we're not going to contract you this year, we're going to pick this other bloke. And I was like, fuck. I was really shocked initially and disappointed, and then I was like, all right, I'll just be a student and have a bit of fun and get my degree, and then we'll move on.
How early on in the year was this?
This must have been like sort of April, May.
Yeah.
And then so I still had the club's season to finish out. We ended up winning the club comp that year.
You got Premier Player of the Year too, didn't you?
Yeah. So like after that, funnily enough, the motivation levels were pretty high. So, but
that's the stuff used.
Yeah, essentially, like it's the same every time I've been told like I'm not good enough. It's like gives you extra motivation. But then I got a call from initially my agent, and he was like, "Oh, you're going to get a call from the Chiefs coach, one of the Chiefs coaches." I was like, "Oh, yeah, interesting." And so Tom Coventry rang me up, and he was the forwards coach.
Was he at Hawke's Bay?
Yeah, so time? I knew. So I'd had a relationship with him in the past because he was at Hawke's Bay for a bit.
Yeah.
So he called me, and he's like, "Look, we've Harry. So Brendan Leonard's going overseas. We've got a third halfback spot." And I said, "Well, like I've missed out on the Otago team. Like, how are you guys going to be able to see me play? Like, you're just going to come and watch me play for Otago B or something?"
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Oh, okay." So he's like, "If we can find a spot for you elsewhere, would you move?" And I was like, "Hell yeah! Like, if I get an opportunity." And then they obviously talked to Waikato. Johnny Walters was the coach at the time, and he talked to Trent, who again talked me up some more. And so he rang me up on a Friday, asked me to come up, and I was like, fuck yeah, I was 100%. So I played for Otago B on Saturday.
Yeah.
Then flew to Hamilton on Sunday. And I had the same thoughts. I was like, fuck, Hamilton. Like, I'd heard all the stories. I was like, Jesus, what's this going to be like? I'd spent maybe a couple of days here at school, maybe. So I had no idea about the place. But I didn't mind it. I ended up living with Braden Mitchell, Scratcher. We lived at Robbie Robinson's place, and that was pretty enjoyable.
Was that his nice place up on East Ridge?
Yeah, in Huntington. So that was good, and I obviously knew you had a relationship with Trent, so that helped a little bit. And then I come off the bench against Southland the week after, and then they started me against Auckland the week after that, and funnily enough, I was playing against Piri Wepu, and I just had the game of my life. Like, had never played that good, scored 2 tries, scored this big long range one from halfway, and I was like, fuck.
Is that the one when you picked up, went through the middle, and it came off your left foot, done the fullback?
Fullback, and
that's
I was like,
that still plays to this day in the Waikato playing Auckland highlight pump-up video.
Yeah.
It gives me goosebumps when I see that. I'm like, yes, Webby.
So that was my first start for Waikato.
Yeah.
And then Dave Rennie was round my house the very next day offering me a Chiefs contract for next year. And I was like, oh my God, like literally within 2 weeks, I was playing Otago B and then getting offered a Chiefs contract. I was just like, what the fuck has just happened? I honestly couldn't quite believe it. And then I've been here ever since. Love Hamilton.
85 games in now.
85 games in. So a bit of a veteran now. 30 next year. Jesus.
I was 30 when we met actually.
There you go. Like many moons ago. So I love living in Hamilton now. Like it's home. I've got a place here, and we're lucky that I get to go to work with my best mates every day. So that helps. But I enjoy it. Mum and Dad live over in Mount Maunganui now, so
that's nice and handy.
They were way closer than they were when they were in Hawke's Bay. So life's good, man.
And then you became captain the following year too for Waikato, which is like how did that sit with you from being, I suppose, new, like coming in the year prior, and then all of a sudden you're like they asked you to be the captain. How'd you feel about that?
Initially, I was. When Johnny asked me, initially I wasn't really too happy with how the team was being set up because Johnny let a lot of old guys go, and particularly Trent. He let Trent go, and that to be honest, that hurt me quite a lot. Like, Trent meant a lot to me in terms of getting me up there, and then all of a sudden he's been dropped, and I just didn't sit that great. So I asked him to give me a couple of days, and then I sort of looked around the team sheet, and it was a pretty young team, and I was sort of thinking, well, I can pick a sad at how my mates have been treated, or I can look at it and just try and do what's best for the team. And I'm contracted, so I've got a job to do. So I said, I'm happy to help out, and if that means me captaining the side, then sweet. I'd only played 7 games for Waikato at the time. I think I was 24, but I enjoyed captaining the side that year, and we had a lot of young guys come through. That's when Damien McKenzie and Anton Leonard-Brown and Sean Stevenson first come on the scene. So we had a pretty young team. But it's pretty crazy now looking back on it. Like I think I was 23 or 24 and I was captaining Waikato. So it was a bit of a setup.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of experience in New Zealand across the country at that time. Right. Though, was there? Right?
Nah, exactly. Like we'd lost a lot of experience from our group. I think guys like.
Was Jackson Willison?
Jackson Willison.
Was he there when you first come up?
Yep, he was
He's
there.
the man.
Yeah, he was great. He was great for me. Like, I really enjoyed Jackson. Even Toby Smith was there. Obviously Trent.
Timmy Mickelson.
Timmy Mickelson. But then he obviously was Sevens full time after that. So we did lose a lot of experience. Even guys like we had Savi Takula, Jack Lamb. So we lost a lot.
There's a lot of games there when you start listing those names, because I played with all of them when they first came in, and I remember it was a real hard time for Waikato Rugby because I played up until 2010 was when I left at the end of Super Rugby in 2011, so I didn't play that year. But at the end of 2011, 12, 13, 14, all of a sudden the heart and soul of Waikato Rugby got taken away, because when I left, there was a couple of senior guys left, and then the following year, a couple more went, like Nathan White was the captain, he moved on, Beaver shot off overseas, and then all of a sudden, but then what hadn't happened up until that point is people like Savi, Jack Lamb, Jackson Willison, no one really left that mid-20s, but that all of a sudden they all did.
Yeah, they did.
And then it's like, whoa, there's just such a big gap through. And it was, I felt sorry for the younger guys coming into that environment because they got a bit of the team got a bit of a bad stigma from the public. Like, there was some horrible things said at different times. And I'm just like, man, you just have no idea what those kids are going through. Like, they were kids, and they didn't have a support network. They didn't have, like, when I went in the team, there was I think I was the only one that didn't have my blazer, and the rest of them, there was probably a dozen players that have played more than 50 games for Waikato, and they're like, some of them are like immortals, like, John Gibson, Roger Randall, and Bruce Rehana, Todd Miller, the list goes on. Like, I was like, and perfect scenario for a young guy to go into because you're just learning from the best. Yeah. You're learning from all these guys that have been there and done it. But all of a sudden, if you go in and you don't have a big role model or someone that's been there, it's like, I've been through this situation, boys. I know, like we'll focus on this point here and we'll be all right. Yeah. When it's like, because then the finger pointing starts happening because you don't actually know what you're going to do to get out of it, do you?
Yeah. And I mean, we ended up doing not so bad, all things considered. Like, we were in the Premiership, so we're in the height, and I think we might have won 4 out of 10 games, but we showed a lot of promise. And I mean,
it was a very talented group,
especially looking back on that team now. Like Ben Tamiafuna was there, like
Jacob Skeen playing.
Yeah, Jake Skeen. Like Josh Honick was playing with us, and he was great for us. And but then like obviously Damien, Anton, Sean Stevenson. So like you look at that team list now, and you're like, fuck, what a team! But we were babies. Yeah, really. Like I was fucking leading them. Like
and you were 7 games?
Yeah, I was 7 games. That's how experienced I was. So, and obviously, it would have been great to have kept that team for years. Like if we had that same team list now, we'd probably be close to winning.
Do some damage.
But yeah, you're right. Like, we'd gone from having so much success to then having all these guys leave and have these babies. So the public's expectations were so high on the Waikato team, it was probably unrealistic at the time. But internally, it was never an issue. Like boys were great. Yeah. And I did enjoy working with Johnny in the end. Like, I still owe a lot to, he brought me up initially. He had to give it the all clear. So it was a good couple of years, and especially the year after when we won the Shield. It was,
yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, I'm sure. So we did have some success.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, so we'll talk now about. You spoke there like after one game.
Yeah.
Against Auckland, your first start, then you get Dave Rennie come around to your house and offer you a Super Rugby contract. Then you obviously spoke about the shock and how quick that happened.
Yeah.
But what was it like for you going into that environment? And that was where we first met too. What was it like going into that environment with the calibre of players that were involved? They were back-to-back title winners of Super Rugby. Do you have some good memories of how you felt?
I do. Like, I remember going to one of my first days, especially when all the All Blacks came back. And I remember thinking, fuck, I'm not going to say anything to Liam Messam or Tanedo Latimer or anything. Like, fuck, I'm just head down, bum up and just work hard. But my first impression, like, Hunger actually come up to me and started chatting to me, and like he was like, "Oh, you got a chance to be my favourite white boy at the moment," like because he'd obviously watched me play for Waikato the year before and probably enjoyed it. And I was like, "Fuck, okay, sweet."
Yeah.
The way that they him and Lats and Cruds like encouraged the young guys as much as they could was really eye opening for me. Like I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be like rookie, shut your mouth, like But they were really welcoming and opening and. So instantly it was so easy to fall in love with the environment and work my ass off, and then obviously being behind Tawata and Augustine as the nines, it was just the perfect setup for me. And especially I'd never been a full-time professional, and then to come into an environment like that where they're back-to-back champs, like this is the best with guys like coaches like Dave Rennie, Wayne Smith was there, so I had the best environment to work and learn, and so it was pretty easy to get fizzed up to go to work every day and to work my ass off. And I mean, I only ever got
we worked our ass off too, didn't we? That team, man.
Yeah.
Like I got
the Thursday trainings, the 3-team drill with Smithy. Yeah. Jesus, the shoulders and everything would be sore after that. Yeah. So yeah, you really found out what hard work was like.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when I'd like been bloody drinking and having barbecues for 8 weeks.
That's right.
Came in sloppy ass and. You guys were flying Africa, eh? Yeah. And I think I came in to have a meeting when you guys were leaving that morning.
That's when you started. It was like a mini pre-season for you.
Yeah. I did 3. Yeah, you were gone for 3 weeks, and I did 3 yo-yos a week. I did one on Monday morning at 7:30, one at Wednesday morning at 7:30, and then one on Friday morning at 7:30. Yeah.
That Millsy just running you into the ground.
Millsy just flogged me. It was like I owe a lot to Millsy though. Yeah. Like that ended up being like the most unbelievable experience for me because they wrote me off. Like I know they did. soon as I walked in, they, similar to
Yeah.
what you were saying, too small, whatever. I walked in, they're like too fat, like straight away, and I was just like, I'll show you. And I owe a lot to Millsy, but also Pies, Phil Healy. Like me and Phil had a relationship prior. He was the trainer before I went overseas, and he knew my character and how hard I could work. He was like, oh, like they will like you. He told me, he's like, they'll like you because you can work hard. You just got to show them. Like, so that meant a lot straight away, because I knew straight away as soon as I walked in, I was like, they're not even interested whatsoever. But then when Pies said that to me, I was like, okay, I can work with that. Like, gave me a little spark. I was like, sweet, I'll show you. And that's all it was. They didn't doubt my rugby, which helped. It was just like they doubted my physical state. So I was like, that's easy fix. Yeah, I just think I stopped eating and did 3 yo-yos a week for 3 weeks, and then and then got my opportunity, and it was a great environment to be in. It was a team that worked extremely hard, like unsustainable hard, and it kind of showed, and they probably learnt from that. Like the management team, probably learnt from that experience, and was, because I remember having the meeting at the end of the season in my one-on-one, and they asked me, because coming from the outside in, why I thought we weren't successful, and I just like, it's unsustainable how hard we work. Like I was like, but they're like, oh, but you could hack it. I was like, yeah, because I didn't do preseason. Like I came in 6 weeks in, so I didn't have an extra bloody 2-3 months of work that I'd already gone through.
And the guys that were back-to-back champions had that for 2 years prior as well, so they were probably.
Well, we lost a lot of them, didn't we? Like a heap of those guys didn't play. Brody, I think, was the only one that was still playing. We lost Cruds for a big patch. Sammy was out for a big patch. Tawada was out for a big patch that gave you your opportunity. Like, there was a lot of turnover. Hozza started both finals and barely played a game. He was just broken. His hips were no good. And it was it was definitely, it was enjoyable. Like, it was a great group of people.
It was so good. The people at like 14, 15 was two of my favourite years. Yeah, there was I didn't even play that much,
No, there's a great group of people in there. We might as well carry on talking about the people, because we actually formed a little group that played can hold golf. I think the first game we played was after, I think we played the Waratahs down New Plymouth, and we're going into that June test window. So, and my partner was Tom Marshall, Tojo.
One of the greatest drinkers. Tom Marshall must be the greatest drinker I think I've ever met.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. Like, sustainability, like he can just stay in the fight.
Doesn't like, it's like a marathon, but he's sprinting the whole time.
Just like his yo-yo. Exactly. Phenomenal in fitness tests.
He ran a Chiefs record yo-yo at the time. The day after, so he had his brother's wedding. The weekend. Yeah. So he would have gone Saturday, Sunday, probably Friday as well, and then turned up and run a Chiefs record yo-yo. It was freakish ability.
Yeah, I actually seen Cucks and Stephen Donald do that. It might have been a record at the time, and they had Beaver's brother's wedding that weekend, and they went basically 3 days, turned up, just had so much pre-workout it wasn't funny, and they would just, the two of them just went at it, and that I'm pretty sure it was a record.
It's funny what the guilts would get.
You
just push yourself.
Maybe alcohol's like a really good fuel. Like, you just got to get your timing right.
All the research is flawed. It doesn't measure what happens in your brain.
But how good was that can hold golf? I remember the first day we sort of planned it was going to happen on the bus coming back, and I had a few beers on the bus, and then I just kind of thought, the boys are just basically talking shit. It's not going to happen. I get a phone call, bro, meet at might have been Hoz's house, I think. We met at.
He was out the back of
Rotatuna somewhere. And I remember turning up with the box, and away we went.
We had a good crew, man.
We had a great group of people.
And Whopper was a
tall He was a ringleader,
He'd be one of the greatest teammates I've had in terms of off-field culture. Like, he organises and so much stuff,
and his ability, relating to people.
He's brilliant. He'll make a great coach in terms of being able to build culture.
But also knows how to work really hard too. He trained the house down.
He's easy to respect as a teammate, because he puts so much work into getting to know everybody. But then when it's time to work, he works his ass off. He might not be the most talented guy in terms of athleticism, but he'll outwork most props.
Yeah. I just remember we ended up at Timmy Nine Williams's place afterwards. He didn't come to golf, but we ended up there, and then we were in we ended up going into town. We might have gone to Lone Star, I think. I fell asleep in the toilet. And then, but I just remember then we ended up going out, and we were walking around in our golf shoes, in the outback.
That's right. There was like Long Island iced teas being brought out with dinner. It's like, we were in no state to be having something like that.
No, it was a great day. And then it became a bit of a thing.
Yeah, a bit of an annual thing. I think we did it the year after.
Did it every chance we sort of got. But how good was Horsham Downs Golf Course for it?
So good.
They looked after us, like it was. We were respectful, like we were drunk, but we were respectful.
I think we had someone sober driving the beer cart and stuff, so like we weren't idiots, but I've tried to carry on that tradition. I've tried to. We were going to do it this year, on the weekend of when all the COVID shit happened.
Oh, okay.
This is fuck, couldn't get it done, but did it last year, and boys love it. It's good to see.
Might have to make a guest appearance.
Yeah. I'll let you know next time we do it.
Wild card. Not too good at drinking. The golf goes all right, but
exactly. You generally try and pair up with someone.
Yeah, well, Tojo was my partner, and he can drink.
Yeah.
So.
And I had Liam Squire, who I don't think he'd played golf in his life, but he's a good drinker. As well as the opposite.
Yeah. No, it's cool. And then, we'll go and talk about 2015 now, because if you scroll back through Webby's Instagram, there's like a wee post there of like everything effectively that happened in that year, and you made it. I think the caption is the best year yet, which what like we talk about what happened. Like years just got better and better to this point, though, didn't they? Like you get your opportunity in 13 to come up and get a super contract after one game, then you go into the Chiefs and involved in that group of people, those good coaches, then you get another opportunity in 15, and then because also what I did want to mention that I didn't mention is that when we beat Uni in 2014 that night, you went up to Auckland, I'm assuming with the Gentlemen's Club, to watch the All Blacks.
Yes, it was. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because I remember I remember you leaving the club rooms and you went up there and you sent me a message. You're like, I rated that comment that you said to me when I said, fuck yeah, that's Morrinsville footy.
Yeah.
And I remember that vividly because the next year when I was in Japan, I watched you debut for the All Blacks against Samoa. So not even, like, how quick was that transition, eh?
Like, that was crazy. Like, I remember when I went into the All Blacks, like, they get all in one of the meetings, as a new boy, you get up and you sort of basically tell your story, like say who you are, where you've come from and stuff. And I even said, I was like, fuck, 2 years ago I got dropped from the Otago team. Like, literally, it was pretty much to the day. Yeah. And I was standing up in front of them, basically getting my All Blacks jersey. I was like, this has just been a crazy ride. Like, just so how quickly it can happen and how much an opportunity can sort of elevate you to another level. And certainly, like, the Chiefs helped that with the coaching group that I had.
And Campbell Park at Morrinsville.
And Campbell Park, exactly. So, like, it was crazy. Like, literally a year after driving up to go and watch the All Blacks, I was there playing for them. I was just, like, kind of blown away. But, I can't believe it.
It was crazy, eh? And then you end up, later that year, you pretty much single-handedly take the shield off Hawke's Bay after you'd signed to go play for Hawke's Bay. But I understand also at that point in time, like, Waikato were on the verge of relegation too. So they needed to win to not get relegated against a very good Hawke's Bay side that had been performing well all year. Yeah. Plus the shield's on the line. Like, can you talk about the shield and what it means to you, and then also, I suppose, the preparation for that week and what it was like?
Yeah, so it was a funny week. I'll probably talk about the week first because we'd been pretty average that year. It was that same talented group. We had Anton Leonard-Brown, Damien McKenzie, Sean Stevenson.
Jordan Traynor debuted
in the Shield game and had an unbelievable game. Like, actually, one thing about that, I remember I roomed with Jordan in Napier, and I remember asking him on the day of the game, I was like, are you nervous? Like, first game? He was just like, nah, not at all. I was just like, he's fucking but didn't show it. Like, it's the game of his life that does all this freakish shit, so he clearly wasn't lying. He's obviously very chill. But that week we hadn't gone so good, and particularly our attack, and I got up in front of the team and basically talked a bit through a few scenarios that we weren't quite getting right. Like we were chopping back and not getting to the sideline where our forwards find it easiest to get into shape. Like if you're a rugby person, you probably understand. And so there was a lot of hard conversations that it was fucking honest. Like guys were nearly tearing up about like what was happening and not. We wanted to get the ball to our wingers and play with a bit more freedom. And essentially when it went into that week and we were just like basically play whatever's in front. If you see an opportunity, just do it. And I remember Josh Honock even was like, so if I want to go and stand at first receiver, I can do that. And we were just like, yep, you can do that. And funny thing is, he did, and he dummied straight through and scored in the first half. It was just like, what the fuck?
That's Hans though, eh?
Yeah. And so that game we went in and we were just like, we've got nothing to lose. Like, we've got this talented group. Like, when we can put it together, we can beat anyone. And Hawke's Bay at the time was stacked with Super Rugby players. Like, they were experienced. They had Robbie Fruin on the wing, Ehio West. Chris Eden was playing his 100th game for Hawke's Bay, so they had a lot of experienced guys. But we just went in there. We just did anything we wanted, basically. We were just like, fuck it, we'll have a go. And it just came off. And Damien ran rampant. Anton had one of the best games of his life. Jordan Traynor was just doing freakish shit to set up.
You scored a second half hat trick.
Yeah, I scored a second half hat trick, which is like, when I scored the third one, I'm like getting up, hands out wide. I'm just like, what the fuck is just happened? I just scored 3 tries against Hawke's Bay.
Did you feel guilty at all?
Fuck no. Like, I knew I'd signed with Hawke's Bay months ago, so I'd known I was going. And then I remember Sean Stevenson, who was like skinny and tall. He got the last turnover, and the whole week after that, he was just like, I'm Richie McCaw. Call me the next Richie McCaw. Like, he's just going on and on about it. Beaver was came back from Japan at that time, so he was in the squad. So we had the Sunday at his place and had a few beers. And man, it was the best week of my life. I'd do it every promo I go to in Hawke's Bay now. Someone asked me the question like, "How could you do that to us?" And I was like, my answer every time was, "I'll do it 100 times over." It was the best week of my life. Like, just
it is though.
It is.
Ramfully Shield is life changing.
And like, some guys don't even get the chance to
ever play
for it. Yeah. We were this bunch of school kids, and we just gone and beaten a Super Rugby team. It was just like, and it just so happened that it was the last game of the round of the year. So, and we didn't make the semi, so we were like, fuck, sweet. We just went hard for the week. And
how good having it over summer. What a time to win it.
Exactly. Like, it was great for Waikato Rugby because we'd struggled for a couple of years at that stage. So it was great for the commercial team and stuff. They were able to sell it.
Well, it breathes life back into a region, when you win it. Like, it does. It really does.
Especially when you had
especially when you get those preseason games. Like, when you win it, hold it for a summer, and then you get to effectively start playing before Mitre 10 Cup starts. Like, that's actually quite a powerful tool for it to reignite, I suppose, like the fans again to be back involved.
Yeah, too right. So, so after the game, I said to the boys, I was like, hell of an effort. I'm just letting you guys know I'm going to Hawke's Bay next year.
Oh, did you tell them?
I told them afterwards. I was like, look, I loved leading you boys, but it's time for me to go home. And what a way to go out.
Yeah. And then you came out in the media and said you were going to come and take it back off us in 2018. When you came up with Hawke's Bay, scored a fucking blinder at the start. Yeah, did you score it? You did, eh?
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember
going into
we went into the huddle because I was captain that day. And I remember looking around the group and I was like, oh, they're starting to believe Webby's fucking stories. They were like looking like, oh, is this going to happen? I was like, boys, it's not going to happen. Like, we'll be all right. And we were, but it was a hell of an effort.
Yeah. It
was a great game of rugby, actually, that game.
It was. We had
a short turnaround, eh?
Yeah. So it was.
You were watching. You would be licking your lips.
It was prime. Like, it was ready. We should have. It was one of the regrets I do have. Well, there's a reason which I'll get to. It was like, I felt like, the article was that Webber owes Hawke's Bay a shield, which I don't, but you know,
But
it's good to be. Yeah, it's good. Of
clickbait.
course, they're gonna lap that up as a reporter. But funny. So we had a couple of injuries to our hookers. I think we had 3 hookers in the squad. 2 went down injured, so we only had 1 healthy one. And our CEO at the time, so we wanted to bring someone in, a hooker, but obviously you have to pay for them. And our CEO was like, "No, turn Jason Long, who's a prop, he's like, coach him to bat." Like, who he had been working on like his line out throwing and stuff. He was basically like, "Nah, you've got Jason Long, he can cover hooker," because he didn't want to pay for an extra guy. Sure enough, Dicko goes down injured in the second half.
Yeah.
And so poor old Jay Long, who's a great man, like I've known him for a long time, but he's a prop and he knows he is, and he has to throw into the line out. And we've got this like
we had a good line out too that year.
Exactly.
Very good line out.
We've got this 5 metre line out against you. I think we ended up losing by about 13 or something, maybe a bit closer.
We came home real strong.
But at the time we were down 5 or 6. I don't know how long there was to go, and we had a 5 metre line out. And
I remember
Hawke's Bay's fucking line out drive is strong. Like, we scored.
Well, you were just scoring every time you had to drive.
Exactly. Dicko might have been the top try scorer for the Mighty 10 Cup that year, all from line out drives. And poor old Jay Long, of course, throws it not straight because, you know, it's not his job to be able to throw the ball in. And then you boys end up getting the ball back, maybe scoring at the other end off that scrum or something happens. And I was just thinking, fuck's sake, all because our CEO didn't want to spend a couple $1,000 on bringing in a replacement hooker in. Fuck's sake.
Because you guys would have been licking your lips, because we played on Sunday. Yeah, we did. We played Sunday, and then we had you boys on Thursday night, and we were extremely hungover still. Yeah, we had because everyone was like, after we beat you guys, everyone was sending through the messages like, "Oh, it must be awesome! You get to celebrate it tonight." The boys are like, "Well, we sent it on Sunday because you don't know." That's the thing about the Shield. You don't know. You can't say, "Oh, we'll save it till next week," because what happens if you lose it? Then it's like we missed the best opportunity to celebrate success and what we did and. And that was Jono Gibbs was awesome for that. Yeah, he just said you need to. It
should be that.
Yeah. This is it. It could be gone. And at that point in time too, I was in the team that had the shortest ever reign.
Oh yeah.
I think not at that it had changed, but when I won in 2007, when I was in the team, we took it off North Harbour, lost it to Canterbury 6 days later. Yeah. And at that point in time, it was the shortest ever reign. And someone sent me that rugby pass site sent me a message on Instagram saying you're going to do it again, you're going to be the captain that has to hand it over. I wasn't captain back then, but they were just basically turning the knife but at the end of the day it probably motivated us more. We knew that we'd been on the piss, so it actually probably made us focus even more so. And Jono was really good. He knew how to motivate a group. And
Well, I'm all for piss up, turn up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm a big advocate.
Yeah. Test your character, cool. So, you spoke about there, being able to return back to Hawke's Bay, and we, I mentioned it earlier that I've been extremely lucky that I've been able to stay here effectively and play for Morrinsville and then play for Waikato and then play for the Chiefs and didn't have to move for opportunity where you've just sort of, the moving for the opportunities is what ignited your career, but how cool was it for you to go back home?
Yeah, it was a long time coming. It went full circle really because I'd had an offer to go back to Hawke's Bay after those 7 games that I played initially, but I definitely owed Waikato for giving me the opportunity to come up and become a professional rugby player. So I was happy to re-sign for a couple of years, but when the opportunity came around again to play for Hawke's Bay, it was something I couldn't turned down because my dad and my granddad both played halfback for Hawke's Bay.
How good is that? Third generation.
Third generation halfback.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it was a bit of a no-brainer in the end, and Dad was pretty happy to see me playing for Hawke's Bay again, and got to go back home and play with all my schoolmates like Ehai West and Gareth Evans, and now for me going back when I do get to go back to Hawke's Bay, it's like going on holiday, man. You know what the bay's like. It's sunny fucking all year round. It's hot air. It's don't need no jacket or hoodie to pack in the bag. You just take a t-shirt and shorts. And, so it's and because I remember going to Hawke's Bay games when I was at high school. I remember that quarter final that you blokes had against
2007.
Spain.
Yeah.
And that was when Magpie, we were just battlers. Like, we'd only just not long been brought up into the first division.
Would have been your second year.
Yeah. And we were beating you guys with All Blacks and shit.
Yeah.
Fuck, it was mean.
We had a rock star team. We had Brendan Leonard, Stephen Donald, who played 12? Might have been Jackson. Might have actually started. Young Jackson Willison. Richard Kahu, who played centre.
Yep.
Sivi Vato on one wing. Sasinia Nisi on the other. And Mills Molina at fullback.
Yeah.
And they were all in the All Blacks at that time except Jackson.
Yeah. And we beat you.
Yeah.
And like it was a.
Schumacher was the captain,
Yeah. It was Arvo footy. Like, it was sun on your back, and I just remember like
it was the same day as the Celt Capital as well.
Yeah.
Or the day after. Yeah.
Like Zach and Izzy and like all those blokes were they fizzed up, and so I always wanted to go back and play at McLean Park, and so now
I debuted there for Waikato.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There's a good
it holds a special place to me. I was in the New Zealand Maldives when we beat England there in 2010.
Man, I've watched that game so many times. It's a beauty. So it's always great going back to Hawke's Bay.
It's a great place to play, eh?
Yeah,
it is. Like
it really is. Like, I played against the counties a couple of weeks ago, and it was sort of 17, 18 degrees and sun on your back.
How good.
Just throw the footy around, shit, it's nice.
Yeah.
So, it's great.
Yeah. Well, Mitre 10 Cup 2 is like, it's an awesome product, eh? Like, it is a great level of footy. Like, it's not far off Super Rugby. Like, people say it's a big jump, but it actually isn't, eh?
No, it's still physical. Like, I still feel it. Sometimes maybe the speed isn't as quick, but it still takes it out of you, man. Like, it is a great look into what professional rugby is, especially for club battlers and young guys coming through. Like, it gives you a pretty good insight into what professional rugby is like. So,
yeah, cool. And I do want to talk about the Brisbane Tens in 2017. So what a group that was, eh?
Yeah.
Like, very similar situation for me again to 14. Like, I was just at home. There was a few injuries at the Chiefs. Renz rings me up, come down. I wasn't as sloppy. Yeah. I was still pretty sloppy. Always been sloppy. But,
you're a good nick, bro.
Yeah. And then ended up coming in, and he said, we'll get you along and play. You know, it's tens, it's rolling subs. You won't have to play much. End up starting every game and play massive
big
minutes. I was just like, but I loved it. I loved that. I'd played sevens years prior, like 11 years prior, but I was used to that whole tournament format and being able to get up and then cool down. I reckon it was a big part to us being successful because we had a lot of guys in that Chiefs team that have played sevens before,
I remember
like national sevens.
And Liam Messon was real big around how to get the boys, how to get back up for a game and stuff like and guys like you who played sevens and stuff.
Timmy Nine as well, like a lot of guys have been in there, and we had a young Sean Stevenson that he just lit the tournament on fire, broke Fridge's leg.
I wasn't shooting that.
He should have just passed it and would have scored, but he had to. It was pretty Rasley try in the end, but Fridge, it pretty much ended Fridge's career, didn't it?
Poor bloke. Well, he tried to come back and play a little bit, but he's had a lot of issues. But you had your dreaded. Well, it was a knee injury originally. There was ice on the knee. Yeah. Do you want to talk us through what happened there? Yeah. So, so I went down in the tackle and I knew something was wrong. Like, big.
Someone jumped on your back, eh?
Yeah, I can't remember. I haven't watched it, but I remember someone had my leg trapped, and then someone hit me from somewhere else, and it just sort of snapped. So I broke my femur.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of force, to break a femur.
Yeah, they only really see it in car crashes, I'm told.
Yeah.
You get that other beer out.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of lying on the ground. I'm like, fuck, I'm definitely hurt. Zig and Kevy come out. And they're like, what have you done? And I was like, fuck, because everything was numb. So everybody's like, fuck, did it hurt? I hear it's like the most painful thing to break. But in all honesty, I didn't feel anything. And I'm sort of looking down, and I let my ankles kind of going the other way. I'm like, no, it's not my ankle. I haven't broken my ankle. Like maybe I've dislocated my knee or something, and that's why my leg's out. And so I'm like, I think I've done my knee. And they stretch me off and get me into the medical room. And the match doctor there, he's like playing around with my knee, and then he's testing for the ACL. And when you test for the ACL, you pull the lower leg out. So because if the ACL's gone, the tibia and fibula will just come forward for me. And clearly my femur's broken at the time, so my whole bone moves, like everything moves, and I'm like, fuck no, like stop that. Like, it just felt real weird. Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, sorry, you've done your ACL in your knee. I'm like, fuck, devastated. I'm like, fuck, it's 9 months. So they iced my knee up, throw me on a wheelchair and throw me back out and watch the rest of the game.
And you had your little green whistle, mate?
Well, no, I didn't have a green whistle because I was in no pain at the time. Yeah. So in that time, Mitch Graham broke his leg, so he got the green whistle.
I thought he was first. Were you first?
No, I was first. So he did it, and then he gets the ambulance to the hospital.
He was fucking dancing.
He was having the green whistle. He was damming, bro. He was damming.
That's right.
There's that video of it. It's brilliant. And so game finishes. We won. I'm like, yeah, boys. We fucking won. You beauty. But Zig's like, all right, we're going to get you to the hospital. I need to get you scanned. And I was like, okay. And because Fridge had taken the ambulance, so they try to put me in the front seat of the doctor's car, and like put my ass in, and then try to swing my legs around, and my legs are just too long that they can't just slip in. They have to bend my leg back up to get it in, and that's when the pain, like obviously the adrenaline had worn off, and that's when the pain started like flooding in, and I was screaming at this poor nurse who was trying to fit my leg in, telling her to fuck off and everything. Oh, poor lady, I apologise to her. Then they give me the green whistle, and that kind of didn't really even do anything. Like I was still in heaps of pain.
It's a nasty image, Like, it's on your Instagram. I'll get it off you so I can put it up. But you see,
literally like bones there, and because they've moved,
and it's
like
moved a long way down.
Like that,
Like so, it'd be what, like a 5 centimeter overlap?
Yeah, I'd say so.
It would be
at least, and looking back, like when I was on the ground and I saw my ankle the other way, that's because when it broke, like it just moves, rolls under, and then that's why my ankle was like that. Yeah. And so I get to the hospital in the MRI, and they take a scan of my knee, and they're like, "Oh, your knee's structurally fine, everything's there, sweet." And I'm like, "Yeah," I was like, "No shit." I was like, "Look, I've got so much pain in my thigh right now. Like, just check it." They check it, and sure enough, they're like, "You've broken your femur. We're going to get you into surgery right now, like emergency surgery." So whip me into
because there's a main artery in there, right?
So there's a femoral artery that runs alongside it, and a lot of the time when people break their femurs, it severs the artery, and you can bleed out in like 5 minutes or something. Wow. So I was very, very lucky that I didn't. And also that, so when the match doctor, I actually feel sorry for the match doctor, but when he found out that I had broken my femur and he was moving my leg, he was mortified. So I'm pretty sure like they all give him shit still because he like nearly fucking killed me. Got whipped into surgery straight away. They put a pin, a titanium rod right down the middle of my bone.
Is it still there?
It's still there now, and fixed me up, and I'm out for 6 or 7 months in the end.
Was it worse like trying to return from that than it would be from like an ACL?
Well, it's quicker.
Yep.
And it's probably better because bone heals stronger when it, so when
I suppose the ligament they put something else foreign in there, don't they?
It's good blood supply, like because I've got that fucking metal rod down there, it's sturdy as fuck now. Yeah. So in the end, it was actually better that I'd done my femur than I'd done my thing. But it probably took me a good, I reckon, 2 years until I wasn't like it didn't affect me at all. Yeah. Like it probably
still felt a bit like a bit of a lump.
Like the year after, when I first came back and played Mitre 10 Cup, I still had a bit of a lump, but that was because the screw that was holding in the rod at my hip was sticking out just a bit too far, and every time I ran, the tendon or something was rubbing over it and giving me pain. So I got that ripped out at the end of the season, and that cured me overnight. Like I walked out of the hospital like pain free. So I didn't really have any pain after that, but just around like getting my full fitness back, speed back, everything, my zippiness back. It probably took me like the Super Rugby the following year. I probably wasn't quite myself. It wasn't until 2019 that I felt good as gold. So, pretty traumatic injury to happen.
That's
apparently it sounded like a shotgun going off.
I heard something from I was off at that time,
Yeah.
And you were just sort of outside the 22, middle of the field. We had a breakdown. We were on short side. You popped out the side of the ruck, and I remember you coming out on your trademark little Brad Webber arc, and normally the old A defender can't catch you.
Yeah.
And you sort of came out, and then it was like, I don't know whether it broke before he got on your back.
Yeah.
But because I was shocked that he actually caught you. So it wouldn't surprise me if it happened prior and then he's jumped on you because I just couldn't imagine that he would catch you, if that made sense.
Yeah, I'll have to. Eventually, I will watch it, but
maybe when you retire.
Yeah, I think I'll wait till I retire. I'm just not really too keen on seeing myself in that spot.
I might, if I can find it, I'll put it in the show notes, but I'll warn you, so you don't look at it. But it was. I just remember it coming out, and I remember hearing something. I was like, oh, that's weird, but it was a funny sound. And I was quite far in this big crowd. It was the final against Crusaders, and I just remember there was. It was, and then I just remember just feeling, you never want to see injuries, and especially because, we were good mates at that stage because we'd had that relationship. We're playing in 2014, and you were like in the form of your life too. Like that was probably the hardest bit for me to swallow. I was just like, oh man, because you played we played the Bullseye preseason, on like the Wednesday or Thursday night, and you had an absolute blinder, and I was like, Webby's ready, you are so hungry. Like I talked about 2015, and you making the All Blacks. I remember your post-match speech. They interviewed you after, and I was just like, this. It was so refreshing to hear. Like you just spoke. They were basically asking questions like how awesome it was for you, but you were just so driven that you wanted more, and you were open to say it. Like you're like, this has just made me hungrier to get back in. It's made the rest of it, and I was like, that's quite a powerful thing to say because a lot of people won't say that because it's putting your neck on the line. You're saying like, I want this, I'm going to fight for it, sort of thing, and it's not New Zealand nature to really do that. And I was just like, good on you, Webby. Like, no, I was stoked, and then I seen position you'd put yourself in, how well you played, how well you were playing in the 10s. I was like, here we go. And then I was gutted, man. Like really, really gutted because I knew, not only gutted because of your injury, but I knew that the position you'd put yourself in to strive for that next level again.
Yeah, that was the most frustrating part, is that I'd worked my ass off that pre-season as well. Like I was in the best nick I'd ever been in. Like you said, like I played well against the Bulls pre-season, so I was heading into the season real confident. And then that happened. It was the year the Lions, British and Irish Lions came. So I was missing that. So I was missing everything, So I was
a big year that year.
It was a big year, and I was gutted to miss it. But fuck, injuries happen, I suppose.
Yeah, they do.
You can't get too down on it. So.
Yeah. Well, you've been pretty good at taking whatever in your stride along the way, haven't you? You missed out on Otago, and then 2 years later you debuted for the All Blacks. And then. Case in point again, you break your femur. 2 years on, you become an All Black again, don't you?
So it's funny.
It's funny.
Never thought of it like that.
Yeah. So just with that coming back from your injury, was there any, I guess, like mentally, was that really difficult? We spoke about there how much work you'd put in.
Yeah.
And like you were in the form of your life. Yeah. Like, did that have any, create a lot of anxiety or anything like that for you?
It did. I was probably a bit nervous if it was going to affect my speed.
Yeah,
I was
because
probably
that's your point of difference, eh?
Yeah, I was a little bit nervous about that. But once I started getting back into training and realising, and especially I was talking, my surgeon was great. Now. Yeah, well, just as if So I was pretty happy with how it all sort of ended up. But at the time, but my surgeon in Australia, Ben, he was fucking brilliant, man. He was so positive with how the surgery went and how I would be able to come back. So that certainly helped alleviate a lot of the mental struggles that I could potentially have. But and then working with Dave Galbraith, he was great in terms of the mental stuff about getting back from injury. Like I never had really any issues in the end. Like I was gutted about the stuff I was missing out on, but I was over it pretty quickly. And then I ended up. So I had initially a 6-month return to play. But I took an extra month just to make sure, just to be like absolutely over everything. Like I didn't need to rush. I didn't need to be back sooner. So when I did come back to play, I was sweet. I know the biggest thing was probably getting going through the return to contact, like getting tackled and tackling again. But once I'd done the first one, I was like, fuck, sweet, let's go. I might as well play now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it was sweet. Once I got the first game out of the way, I had no dramas.
Yeah, it's funny, when you don't do something for such a long time. Like I talked to Sam on his podcast, and he said like after his neck, because so long on the brace and his return to play, like the first thing he was doing was on his knees and practice falling on the onto the mat. Yeah. And he said it was just like such a weird like concept to think that is scary. When you see what he does with his body, and you're the same, like you fly into everything. Like I said, you might be small, but you enjoy the physical side of the game. You get stuck in there, and so it's funny, when you don't do something for a long time, it does. Even though you do it for so long prior, it still was an anxious step to to do it again.
I mean, Sam went through probably a more traumatic injury than me, and he plays the most physical position on the field. So it's funny hearing it from him, like one of the most physical guys I've known, sort of be a bit iffy about it, but it's injuries, I guess. Yeah,
it is. I want to jump off rugby again and talk about the Black Clash. So, like, what an awesome concept that is, and you got to play, and it was at McLean Park, that beautiful ground that we've spoken about, and it's a special place too. Like, how intimidating was it though to play like in their domain? Because it couldn't work the other way. There's no way that Black Caps could come and play rugby.
Yeah.
But it is like cricket's scary, man. Like especially with
and I went out and batted, and I was facing Kyle Mills, Jacob Oram, and Grant Elliott, and I'm like, fuck's sake. And
they're like world class bowlers,
and they're like not that far removed. Like they can, like Grant Elliott was getting a bit pissed off, and he was sort of sending it down.
Yeah,
and like no one like lets you never prepared for like the crowd and like being on this big stage and fucking like it's a lonely place batting. Like it's you, like everything's on you, and
it's like, a very individual sport for a team sport though. Like cricket,
exactly. And amongst a team sport, it's an individual sport. And like I played a lot of cricket growing up. Like I played first 11 for 2 or 3 years. Like I was okay. I was a wicket keeper, a little bit of a batsman. Like I'd come in late and try and spank it. Like I'd always have a pretty good strike rate and try and give it a good tong. But having not played for like 10 years and then trying to get back out there and bat, like I'd done a couple of net sessions.
But it's like picking up all that little stuff, like picking the ball out of the hand and
Like I hit it a couple of times, but just couldn't get it out of the middle. It's the timing that you lose, like the hand eye. So if I'm to do it again, I'm going to try and play a couple of games before it, because I went in
not
cold.
Just nets,
I just played net, did net sessions and stuff. But it was a cool experience, like getting to mix and mingle with a lot of the cricketers that I looked up to as kids. Like a lot of them are bloody good blokes. They send it. Like it's a reunion. It's a reunion for them. They get stuck in.
And they're in their domain too, so they could play a little bit.
Exactly.
Hungover.
So it was cool, man. Like,
it's an awesome concept, eh?
Yeah,
like it's so cool.
Yeah. Hopefully they carry it on for a few more years.
It's cool to see too, because like us as Kiwis, like we grow up, summer you play cricket, winter you play rugby, so it's like it's not that foreign. And I suppose you see it more so with the guys that are younger because they're not that far removed from cricket. Like it was Kalen Boshier, Bobby's brother. Like how good was he in that first one? Like, but he's New Zealand 19s cricketer.
Yeah, so he's on another level.
But he's the old but you're 10 years removed as well. So it's like, and you see Geordie Barrett, like he could be a black kid. He's like, he's got all the. You see him like I remember all the videos going around on social media of him getting ready for it and the nets and that, and I was just like, those cricketers would have been like, oh shit,
And sure enough,
he's pretty deadly. He's pretty. He bowls quick.
He's quite. Well, he's a big boy, so he's a bit of heat behind him.
Yeah, is he as tall as Scott? Like he's pretty close, eh?
Yeah, he'd be as tall as Scott.
He can kick a ball, eh?
And he's physical now, like he's big.
He's a bit of a grub, eh? I like it. Like he puts a few shots in off the ball and there's a little bit of head rubbing going on. He's got a bit of Dane Coles in him. So we'll talk about it, and it's pretty cool hearing, what you said about your mates and going to the World Cup and that. But your All Black return. So it's 4 years. Like that's a long time, man.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, I think the average career for a professional rugby player in New Zealand is 2.5 years. So to think that you've waited 4 years for that opportunity again, and there's injury in the middle there, and and in my mind, like a bit of bad luck on a couple of other occasions too, to not be included in the squad, but to finally get that opportunity again, and like how awesome that your mates, that's such a cool story to hear. You're saving up to go to the World Cup, but like 2014, the Gentlemen's Club go and watch the All Blacks, and then a year later you play, and I'm sure we'll get to it as well, but it must have been pretty special for them to have you there playing as well. But what was, I suppose, was it a phone call that you got to say you were back in, or?
No. I found out like everybody else on the TV. So
sometimes it happens, Sometimes it's a phone call.
It's different every time. Like this year, we got a phone call after the North vs South game. So, but last year, I just found out with everyone else. I was sitting on my couch at home, had two flatmates, Bex and Abby, who were there with me, and I was nervous, man. My heart was racing, and especially because Webber is right at the end. Like,
you would have been counting the halfbacks. Down.
But even still, I was like, fuck, they've taken two.
Oh, okay.
Before, there's no reason why they wouldn't take two again. Yeah. So it wasn't until they said my name, I was just like, fuck.
Was it the last?
Pure relief. No, it was Whitelock and then Sunny Bill after that. So, fuck, man, it was just like pure. My two flatmates, they were just going nuts. Like, phone was blowing up. Yeah. Rang my parents, they were stoked. So.
Well, they would have been watching it too.
Yeah, they were watching. Yeah, I didn't want to.
Was it better than the first time for you?
Yeah, way better. Yeah, way better. Because this time I actually got named. It was the first time I'd actually been named. Yeah. The last time I was just brought in. Yeah. After the initial squad was named. So. Yeah,
was that a phone call that time?
Yeah. I was on the piss with the Chiefs boys.
Yeah.
We were, I don't know where we were going, but
Horsham Downs golf course.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It was after it was our end of season do, or like maybe a day before or something, and I was hammered. Yeah. And Shandy rings me up. He's like, "You might want to put the beers down because you're coming to camp in a couple of days." Still went to the we still went to the piss up the next day.
Celebrate, yeah. Like, fucking hey.
So I turned up. Yeah, exactly. I turned up to my first All Blacks camp hungover. Which is pretty funny. I never fell asleep in the first meeting, but I held it together enough for them to not notice.
I listened to a podcast, the What a Lab podcast with James Marshall, and I listened to David Harville talk about his All Black, and he'd sent it for like 4 days, then went in and joined the All Blacks, and a very similar story.
It's so good. I love stories.
Cool. So coming back into that environment again after. Effectively, 4 years of being out. Yeah. What was it like going back into camp? Was it like the first time all over again?
Not really, actually. Yeah. I reckon I definitely had a better head on my shoulders. I think the first time I went in, I was a little bit overawed by the whole thing. Like, I couldn't quite believe I was there, and was just trying to not be wrong. Not make a mistake or not do anything wrong. Whereas the next time I was just like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to be me. I'm just going to be myself and try and contribute where I can and do what's best rather than just trying to be a number. Do you know what I mean? So it was definitely different. And I'm glad I sort of took that sort of mindset in. Yeah.
Yeah, because I read a quote from you when doing the research for the podcast, and it was around that time that you'd just been recalled back into the All Blacks, and you just said how the last 18 years last 18 months have been the most fun that you'd had in your professional rugby career, and just you really focused on the importance of controlling what you could control, and you just sort of mentioned it there by going in and being like, this is what I'm here to do, and I'm just going to be me. Like, I find is such a powerful tool that a lot of the best players and the people that have long careers seem to master that.
Because I reckon particularly after 2015 when I got named, I started obsessing over getting back a bit too much. Like, I started focusing on the end result, like on on being named or getting back to the All Blacks. And so
Did you start comparing yourself to the others more through that period too? Like,
probably,
looking at them like, oh, they do that good, I'm going to focus a bit.
And I'd always start the year real good because there was no All Black selection coming up.
Yep.
So like I'd start the year with a hiss and a roar.
Yeah.
And then All Black selection would be getting closer and closer. And then as the season got on, I just started getting probably a bit too obsessed with it, and it would affect me mentally. And like where I wasn't focusing on my game, or I was just sort of focusing on trying to get back. Like, what are the All Blacks want to see from me? Like, and try and focus on that. I ended up playing shit towards the end of each season, and then that gave the ABs basically reason to not pick me because I wasn't consistent enough. Like I'd start well, and that happened year on year, and then it got to the point where I was like, fuck, like, it's just not the way to be thinking. Like, I should just be trying to be the best player I can be, and how am I going to do that? Like, what can I do today that's going to make me a better player tomorrow, rather than thinking about like, oh, the All Black selection's happening in six months. What do they want to see from me for me to get there? It was more like, fuck it. I was at the point where I was like, I could have the best season of my life. I could be the best player in Super Rugby and still not get picked for the All Blacks, and that's sweet. I actually don't give a shit anymore. Like, as long as I've done everything I can, as long as I've enjoyed my rugby with the Chiefs that year, then it doesn't matter. And it's funny, like when I started thinking like that, like my rugby was just better, and like I started well, and then I just got better and better, and then by the end of the year I was fucking hissing. And even when the ABs, like I said, I was bloody nervous, but when I was playing for the Chiefs at the time, it didn't matter. Like I was just like, fuck, what can I do today that's going to make me a better rugby player? Like I wasn't playing this end game anymore. I was even in the game, like it didn't matter if we won or lost. It was more like, fuck, what am I doing tonight that's going to make me better next week, or make me better tomorrow? So it was just like a weight off my shoulders, and then I was playing way more freely. I didn't give a fuck what anyone was saying in the media. It didn't matter. Even if they were talking me up, I was like, it doesn't matter. I can still miss out. Yeah, funny how it all
it's
works
funny
out.
because
I should have had that bloody mindset 3 years ago.
Yeah, but that's experience and maturity, Like, and it comes to different people at different times. Like Anton spoke about it when I spoke to him, and he talked about he needed to find consistency in himself. Like he feels that he's a consistent person now, and he doesn't let his performance affect effectively his personality. Like when he was younger, he was really struggling because if he played well, he'd be up and happy and like Chipper talked to everybody, and if he had a poor performance, the next week he'd be a sack of shit and wouldn't talk to anyone. And then I talked to Sammy as well, and I just find that Sammy, like, if you watch Sam Cane, you can see, if you watch him closely, and if you get a chance to watch him live, or then the players around him know, because we see it, we're there with him. But if you watch him live, or even if you watch on TV, if you just watch Sam, like, he is the master at going from one task to the next, which is effectively how you become consistent, and you stay in the moment, you play in the moment, you don't worry about it in game. He just does what he needs to do in that moment every time, whether it's get off the ground, whether it's clean a ruck, whether it's catch and pass or whatever. I just find that, he's the master of that. And then you guys all are at that high level. Like, once you make the All Blacks, like, you have to have that. Otherwise, you're not going to get there. You see so many talented guys. You're like, I wonder why he's not an All Black yet. Or I wonder why they're not looking at him. It's probably because there's patches of the game where they drift in and out.
Well, that's what the selectors do. They go to watch games live, and they'll watch a player just solely, like, watch them for 15 minutes and just see what they do. So, exactly.
Exactly. There's no hiding. They'll watch it. They're not looking at highlight reels and go, oh, he's awesome.
That's why they go to games and watch them live rather than watching them on TV, where you can only see so much. Yeah,
it's funny, because when you're in the environment, I suppose you get the understanding of all the little things that go into making a performance. And I still get it now. I talk to a lot of people, and they're like, oh, Rara's playing real well. Why aren't they, like, getting looked at for all this? Why isn't he getting more game time? And I'm like, well, like, he's like the X, Y, and Z area, like, he probably needs a little bit of work. And they're like, oh, really? It's like, have a watch. And I said, oh, yeah, you're right. Or like, the opposite as well. I'll be like, he's awesome. He's playing mean. They're like, what? Really? He's not doing much. And it's like, watch him.
Yeah.
You know, go and actually watch how much work that player does.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like Sam's probably like the perfect example of that. Like everyone talks about, you know, like loose forwards are a hotly contested area, and it gets talked about heaps, and I suppose the general public always see the big runs, the big hits, and, you know, the big impacts on the game. But if you were task to task, like, there's no better than Sam Kane. Like, he's a freak.
He doesn't do a whole lot of flashy stuff, but you watch him hit a ruck and how effective he is in it. It's like, he's world class. Like, there's a reason why he gets picked. Like, the reason teams get fast ball when he plays is because of their effectiveness he is at ruck time, or when he slows ball down for other teams, his dominant hits. It's just like,
well, you're in the box seat to see that, aren't you?
I see it all the time.
See it all the time.
It's like, he'd be first guy on the team sheet for me every day of the week.
Yeah. No, he's
a fucking good cunt.
Yeah. and he goes well on the beers too.
Yeah. He's the people's champ.
Yeah, he is. He's very popular amongst his peers, Sammy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit now about this year, because you've just been in camp with the All Blacks this week in Hamilton, and Hamilton turned the weather on for you, didn't it? It's been beautiful. 2020 has been a hell of a challenge for everybody out there, and you know, business, bloody schooling, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a big challenge for everybody. But for you guys as professional rugby players, everyone loves the concept of like Super Rugby Aotearoa. Like, it was awesome. Like, it was great games. Like, it was wicked to watch. But what a physical toll that paid on you guys, eh?
Yeah. Oh, it's like, you usually only get like 2 back-to-back derby games during normal Super Rugby. So to have 4 in a row, it's just like, it's as much getting up mentally as much as it takes out of you physically, because the games are faster. They're like way more physical. The ball's in play for a longer period. So, man, like, after the Super Rugby Aotearoa was over, I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Like, my body was just craving for a break. So it's not really sustainable in its current format, because end of the day, as much as the fans like it, and like, I love it as a fan, I love it as well, but the players have to sign off on what the competition's going to be like. Like, you can't just treat us like bits of meat and just fucking go for it. Like,
chuck you out.
Otherwise, guys are going to go overseas. Like, Japan is looking real fucking juicy, because it's way easier on the body, and more guys are going to go if you're going to just flog them like that. So there needs to be that balance, whether it's more buys or you know, bringing more teams in. In its current format, it's not sustainable, but shit, it's a bloody good watch.
It is.
for a little while. But fans and people just need to know that, like, as much as we get paid to play, like, it gets to a point where you're like, it's not quite worth it. Like, putting my body through this year after year, where it's just going to break down. So yeah, they need to find the balance there.
Yeah, because we spoke about, you know, 2014 earlier, and with sustainability, and you see a high turnover of players there. If we went to a model like Super Rugby Aotearoa and we play that year in, year out, there's going to be the career span's going to be shorter.
Yeah.
Like, you got there's no denying it. Like, we have the best players in the world, like, especially depth wise, right through, and they're only getting better and better. And you know, you're going to go out there each week. They're like test matches, like they are, because you guys are in camp at the moment. And I'm pretty sure there'd be like 3 backlines that you guys were training with. You wouldn't know which one's the best. Like, there's teams that have names in it, you know, like, whatever the list is that goes out there. But you could put the next backline in, and they could easily outperform the first one.
Exactly, yeah. Like,
and then the third one could do the same.
It happens at our trainings. Like, the team that gets named to play is in the 15, and the blokes who aren't end up ripping up the team that's starting that weekend, you know? Like, it happens at training. And, like, classic cases, that's North versus South game. Like, North on paper had the most stacked team you could ever assemble. The South team got up and beat them. Like, it just shows how even amongst, you know, a big range of players that there is in New Zealand. Like, you can field 315s that compete.
Yeah, you could, like, you know, at test level, like, we could probably send out like a 4th. Well, you know, look at the Māori All Blacks as an example. In 2010, we beat, Ireland and England,
Yeah.
and we had Aaron Smith playing, who hadn't played Super Rugby at halfback, and he's Aaron Smith now.
That's what he is now.
But back then he wasn't. Our reserve 9 was playing club rugby in Rotorua, in Rotorua.
That's right.
Ruatapuki.
Yep.
Oh, not Ruatapuki. Rocky Tapuna. Sorry.
Yeah.
But like there was, and quite often there is a club player in there, like in that team, or a couple.
Quite often. Yeah.
Quite often. But that team would make quarterfinals at a World Cup.
Yeah.
Like
easily.
Easy. Like probably be a semi-finalist if things go well and they get time to prepare. Like there's a huge amount of depth in New Zealand, and that's only looking at one race within our country. That's just Māoris.
Exactly.
Like we've got all the Pacific Island boys, and like the depth in New Zealand is crazy. And then with the Rugby Championship coming up, so. It's come around pretty quick, isn't it? I was talking to someone the other day, and you guys were off training in Whakatane, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, when are they actually going to play? It's like, they're playing in Wellington next week. Well, probably this week by the time I put this up.
There you go. Yeah. It's like, it is coming around pretty quickly. We're obviously going to have to spend a fair bit of time in Australia, but I'm not complaining. I'm lucky I don't have kids and stuff, so I don't really care. I'll be happy as to be an Aussie for 3 months, but I can kick back. Good weather, go hang out at the beach when I need to play a bit.
Well, it's going to be a nice time of year, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's in that springtime into the early summer.
Yeah, exactly. And so long as I get back before New Year's, so I can go to Rhythm.
Yeah. You guys will be out of isolation by then, you reckon?
I'm not too sure, but I don't really mind missing Christmas. I'll just go see Mum and Dad a couple of days later. But so long as I get down to Gizzy for R&B, then I'm happy.
Nice. Cool. So do you know what the sort of makeup of Aussie's going to be? Like how you are going to be sort of based there? Have you sort of spoken about it at all in camp? Or
well, there's been all these different options sort of bandied about. So in its current format would be, I think we go to Brisbane to isolate and for a couple of weeks and then play in Brisbane, and then I think we move down to Sydney. I think most of it will be in Sydney. From
so once you've isolated, do you have to stay isolated as a team, or are you just free to?
So we basically we'll have our own bubble in a hotel that has a field and gym. It. So it's literally like a resort, a training resort. So as soon as we come out of quarantine, the 2 weeks, we'll be playing a game that day.
Oh, okay.
So we'll be training as in isolation essentially, but then we'll be able to do everything together as a team and then go and play. It's funny. We'll literally come out of isolation and then play a test match.
You go play a test match. And then you'll do once you play that first one, do you have to stay in your isolated bubble?
That much hasn't been touched on because I know the leagueies had that. They had to kind of they had some real strict rules around they weren't allowed to go to cafes and restaurants and shit. So I don't know exactly how that works, but I imagine it'll be pretty strict because if someone goes out in the public and then gets it, the whole competition's fucked. So. Yeah, so I imagine there'll probably be some pretty strict. I'd say so.
Yeah, but that's
that's what it is.
Is what it is, Just like injuries, it's
exactly.
Focus on what you can control.
Gotta go get.
You're set up perfectly for it, Webby.
Hey,
you're set up for it perfectly, mate. Focus on what you can control.
It'll be a breeze for me.
Yeah. Happy days. Cool. Do you want to leave us with any final thoughts, mate?
No, mate. It's been always good catching up with you, old mate.
Yeah.
And hopefully might be able to try and get a game in for the Ville next year, maybe. Link back up again.
Yeah. You're a bit famous for us now, man.
Shout outs to Raglan Roast and Big George for providing this fantastic brew.
Yeah. No, it is. It's been good. It's awesome to share it over a few yarns, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, that's the trick. Cool. All right, thank you very much, Webby.
Thank you, Swains.
All good.